Here we go again. So, good morning. There's a few things that we're talking about today. The main idea is how to start dealing with job ads and how to get job ads. One of the things we'll talk about today is the interview process, recruiting. We'll be talking about resumes. I understand that I have already shared a bunch of folders and many different files with students, including my own resume, and there's information inside there talking about lists of recruiters, hundreds of different recruiters or headhunters or job agents. You can review that in the folders that I've shared online. Oops, just opening the files, showing you this stuff. So you should be able to see my screen here now. And at the top, there's several folders for all class files. Today, we're going to be going through the main files talking about recruitment. And as I suggested last week, I really hope that we have time to talk about this article, which is talking about how to fix your CV so that you can bypass the software robots. And so we will talk about this. And I understand some students may be ready to present today. And while you're doing that, maybe one person is talking, but also note that in addition to our PPTs and articles that we share, and we have this teacher's notes that give you suggestions on what to talk about. Excuse me, one more time. No coronavirus, just the morning, getting cold in winter. But these are suggestions for the key important things to talk about for anybody. So let's go in class. Is there a group of students that are ready to be proactive and start sharing their material for the weekly topic today? Going once. The Korean thing is to just stare at you and tell you to do it, but that's not the international style. So I'm just leaving it open. I hope some of you that are sort of prepared or scheduled will volunteer. Otherwise, I'm going to just go ahead and get into the details.
Oh,
okay.
I have uploaded the materials that relate to recruitment system on Facebook group. So is the one that you want to? Is it the one that you asked?
Sure. Can you please talk about those details? Yes.
Oh.
Share that information with the class.
Actually, I have uploaded the file in the Facebook group.
Idea.
Pardon?
Okay, do you want, some students have not seen Facebook. They don't know what you're talking about. So introduce what you're talking about.
So it is about the recruitment pattern changes since 1980 to 2000 in Korea. So and so Korean recruitment system has changed a lot since 1980s. That from mass recruitment system to rolling recruitment system, and also should I show the file to people?
Yes,
that is
co-host. You can.
It is. It's your choice. If you want to go for the best, try the best. Yes. So present details. That is the best. If you are nervous, I don't want to stress you too much. You can just talk about it. But the whole idea of the
file is written in Korean language, so some people may be hard to understand, but it is good to check it if some are interested in. It's about the rolling the recruitment system changes in those Samsung, Hyundai, LG, and SK. So it is about from mass recruitment system to rolling recruitment system, and by doing that, people can the human resource managers can select uh, the targeted applicants more efficiently by and also it helps to develop the internal management by selecting the I'll say uh, very
So you can share if you want. You can share your screen. It gets easier to explain if you have something. Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So I have uploaded the file in our group web page here. So, but it's written in Korean language, so.
Okay. So,
but it's all about the recruitment pattern changes about Samsung, Hyundai, LG, and SK. So if people are thinking to join those company, maybe it's very helpful to know how they recruit people and how it changed. Should I keep explaining this, or is it okay just finish here?
Let's move on. We're taking quite a lot of time. In the future, yes, you must always appreciate and respect the target customer. So we're speaking to the English class, rather than just ask, can I do this? Can I do that? When you're applying for a job, when you're trying to get selected, if you just ask basic questions, it might be normal, might be polite, but jumping right into the facts and showing value. So sharing English information to other people is where you get most value. That's where you will be identified from other people and you might be recruited. So I'm going to go ahead and start talking about some of these other details now. I think it's a good idea for students to be aware that I'm going to take part of the screen back and show you something that you should be able to reference here.
So, Professor Shan, you have to start again sharing your screen if you want to.
I'm taking the information from the group. Okay, so you can see just one example of a Facebook page. And this Facebook page, it's not for our class, it's for a different class, but I'm trying to show what you could do. So this concept image in this Facebook group is something that all of you might be or should be thinking of today. So you need to understand, what are the values of other people? What does the company want? The company wants to identify many good applicants. The company needs to sift between thousands of people looking for a job, just sending in a piece of paper, a resume, and identify who's the best. So almost everybody understands that most people have a university degree. And so how can you go beyond the university degree and appear better? If you obviously have work experience, you're better than somebody that does not have work experience. If you have published something, you will appear to be a specialist and look better than somebody that doesn't. So you should be trying to publish anything you can. Every student paper you've ever written, publish it in your own Facebook blog or your own newspaper or a student journal or higher or more credible sources. And the last thing, why I'm showing you this, you can see this is International Management Award for a group of students saying the first place, most impactful presentation. The next award is best research paper. The next award is best social media video and presentation. And it's an award. But what is surprising is, although I am signing this at the bottom, I did not create this. So this was created by students that want to grow their resume and show a company that they're better than other students. Even if it's no different than doing regular classwork. When Hyundai or Kakao or any company looks at your resume, if you only show you studied, you graduated, you got marks, compared to somebody that studied, graduated, got marks, and won awards, then the person with awards will look better than you. So students, you should make something like this. I will support it. Julian, Ali, other professors, executives from Samsung will support things like that. Find out what the hiring manager wants and find a mutually beneficial way to work together and make an award similar to that you may be able to win in class and put on your resume to impress these other people. It sounds very strange, but unfortunately, this is a huge part of real life. A lot of companies promote themselves. A lot of companies will make huge news stories saying researchers have studied things and they found this is the best company, but the reality is that news story was paid for and is created by employees of the company they're promoting. So some people will say it's not ethical. And I'm not saying it's ethical or not ethical. I'm just saying you should understand you compete with other people and you must try to stand out and above or look better than these other people. And winning awards in a class or being a class leader or a class president or an intern for an organization, all of those things sometimes don't take any extra work, but make your selection and recruitment a much higher possibility. By the way, these research papers, the people that won that, very good research papers from those students. Let's go on to the next part. So we're talking today about human resource recruiting employees. And we're going to go through and define recruitment. This information, everything I'm showing here is in the lecture suggestions or in our folder for this week. There are tips on how to manage the main details, and recruitment, for example, is defined there. So you can look at this PPT and you can look at those files at the same time. So we're also going to be discussing job posting and bidding. We've already started to talk about that. What are some advantages and disadvantages of using external methods of recruitment, defining job previews, what's realistic or not, what are inducements to companies, and talking about equal employment opportunities. So recruitment is the process of seeking and attracting a pool of people from which qualified candidates for a job vacancy can be chosen. I believe last class, several people already identified there are many ways that you can recruit. And there's headhunters, there's job search engines. We're going to go through some of those today. What I want you to focus on is knowing that there are many and what are good points and bad points about each. As I've just identified, simple ideas of winning awards might make you stand out to other people and make it easier for you to be selected. So that's all part of your planning process. Plan your own future, develop those things, have your personal plan. At the same time, try to make sure your plan for your own personal development matches the company that you're dreaming about or your ideal employer. So options available to organizations. Of course, they can use temporary workers, give overtime to existing workers. They can subcontract out to other organizations. leasing employees, for example, and the idea that I hope everybody is aware of now with 2020 and coronavirus, nobody's really allowed to go into a company anymore. You've heard probably most companies in the world have been laying off thousands of employments. There's record high employment numbers now. Some of it is because companies can't sell enough, they can't pay for the payroll. But the true reality is many companies see the world is in chaos and nobody is asking questions when companies lay people off. And if you have, for example, big unions and you want to get rid of big unions, you can start laying people off now that might be not ideal for your company, for example. And so there's huge numbers of unemployment. Some companies will fire people and then turn around and wait a day or so and start outsourcing work or hiring people online. You should be aware of how you can work online, how you can outsource details, and our class work is an example. Felix, yes.
Yeah, I would just say that I'm not your opinion with that the people are getting in Europe, they stop outsourcing because of the coronavirus, because they see that their supply chain is getting more and more difficult or complicated, and if there's somebody broke there, so they start to get the production back again to the sources, so to Europe again.
Okay, there's possibly two different points to that. So yes, there are good companies and there's bad companies. Good companies may have to lay people off when business has a downturn. And then when business starts picking back up, you may hire those same people again. That may be a nice employer, very ethical. It might be good human resource management practices. But there are many organizations and CEOs, executives that have hundreds or thousands. Samsung has like 300,000 workers around the world. Some of them may not be ideal, and managers may want to replace them. And the legalities of firing somebody just because you don't like them can turn out, and you can get sued and attacked. So you can't easily fire people just because you don't like them. But when you have an excuse like coronavirus, where everybody is firing people and laying people off, you can get away with laying off other people. And the good side of this is it might be easier for you to show you have more proactivity, or you have more value, or you have more talent, or you're more eager than somebody else that's already working. So a company may lay somebody else off after they see your proposal or your term paper and start hiring you to do some of those things. So it may be, for some people, easier to get a job now than at other times. I myself personally find it's easier to get a job, and there are much more job opportunities now than normal, even though some universities are going bankrupt and closing. So yes, in Europe, thank you for sharing a good employer, what they're doing. But there are others, and you should be aware of them. So there's good things and bad things about everything. A student, I think it was Gunsu Kim, started presenting an article this morning. It was in Korean, so we weren't able to get into it too much, but identify materials, identify what's happening in your environment, identify the best, most reliable, trusted sources of information, and information from the best, most respected executives and companies. But also identify what's good and bad about it and use that for going forward. There's several students that are starting to put your hands up. Let's see who we have. So Ji-Hwan, you have your hand up? You have something you'd like to contribute?
Yes, Professor, I have a question.
And?
So the question is, you said the companies can't fire people who just because they don't like them. And I wonder why not? Because I think maybe the chemistry and good relationship between workers is also important. And just because I don't know why it's wrong to fire people just because company doesn't like the workers.
Okay. Oh, I wish I was young and had great, beautiful eyes like you. Everything is nice and innocent, and the more you learn, the more you understand a lot of details and you experience things. There's good and bad about everything. And Korea is a very newly developed country, and most of Korea is now following advanced country laws, but some parts of Korea is still traditional. And there are other countries, for example, like Vietnam, that is not as developed as Korea. For example, in Vietnam, there are, very successful business people that have to hire workers, and they will only hire sexy guys or sexy girls and hardworking guys and girls, or people that have the top marks in school and the top experience. But they will specifically demand you put in not only a photo of yourself for the job application, but a video of you presenting yourself so they can see how sexy you are. And in many advanced countries, that is absolutely illegal. You can go to jail for that. But in some countries, if you don't have those labor laws, you can get away with it. Some places, I believe even Vietnam, has those labor laws, but they're not enforced. And places like Korea, there are many laws here, but a lot of the laws sometimes are not enforced. So advanced countries, you can't just hire somebody and then fire them for no reason. If they have been hired, they have proven their value, and you made an agreement, you made a contract. And so the contract is you hired them to do a job, they're doing a job, you can't break that contract. It's a business agreement, business contract. Just because you don't like them doesn't mean they stopped doing their job. Understand? And so if you break the agreement and fire them, even though they were doing the job, they can sue you for breaking that contract. Does that make sense?
Yes, Professor.
So you should be happy we're in Asia, where it's still developing country and at the same time it's developed. So some laws are followed. Other places like Canada and USA, there's so many crazy laws, rules, and regulations that we're getting, like the whole idea of Black Lives Matter. There are laws. You have to have a certain number of minorities hired, otherwise your investors will pull out, or you can be sued. Some people may be very bad quality people, and they apply for working at a job, and when they don't get the job, even though the truth is because other people are better, those bad applicants can sue the company and say, whether it's true or not, that they were prejudiced and didn't give me the job only because I'm black, or only because I'm a minority, or only because I'm a girl, or only because I have a handicap. And the company may have to spend millions of dollars just to argue and show that it's whether it's true or not. So there's a lot in human resource management. There's a lot in business overall. I'm glad you asked that question. So that what we just talked about, the idea of job analysis, it's not just who can do typing on a computer or who can do the basic job. Many times the company is required, sometimes by law, sometimes because of the owners of the company, like shareholders, require you are equal opportunity organization. And if you don't have enough women working, then that job analysis may require you to be hiring a woman. And that goes into job analysis and human resource planning, the job description. So there's a lot to it.
Professor, maybe you can try to move a little bit the microphone, because it's sometimes it's getting better, sometimes.
Okay. Can you hear me better now? With the microphone closer to me.
Not
Is
really.
it clear? Hopefully you can still hear me. I'll go forward and I'll try to talk clearly. Last class, I asked people to get into groups, discuss ways that you can recruit people and what are positive and negative aspects of it. So we will return and review some of this, but I want to get into a few more. I want to get into the review of your CV eventually. So let's skip forward and start talking about these other things. When you think of ways to recruit, you think of recruiting inside the company, and you can think of recruiting outside the company. So advantages of inside hiring is the organization has a good idea of the strengths and weaknesses of employees. Everybody should know your skills. And the best way to identify your skills is by doing a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Identify SWOT analysis for the company and identify SWOT analysis for yourself, and try to work in a developmental, mutually beneficial manner. Performance evaluations of employees are always available. You should make sure, regardless of how you feel, regardless of how you think you're doing, you should check what the other person thinks. Check what your boss is actually writing down for your evaluation. Some of those evaluations are formal and publicly official, and you can see those details. Other times, a lot of the time, that is informal information, and your boss won't officially share that with people. You may have to develop a relationship with them to check what are they evaluating. Some organizations will have a peer review evaluation of people that should be fair, but even there, good things and bad things. A good part is a peer review will have many people evaluating you, so it's not just biased on one thing. But a bad thing is you may be evaluated next to other people competing for your job. And if other person is competing for your job and that person is bad, they may say that you are bad and give you a low evaluation. So when we're talking about human resource management, make sure you reference lots of information and check what is the top quality, reliable, trusted information, but also check, what is good about this information and what is bad about this information. The more accurate data available concerning employees, the better. Not just for employees that HR has already seen and managed for many years. We know a lot of the true information. I remember talking about people getting jobs, and I walked into a political science class, and the political science professor was telling students two things. One, what was political science? And two, how to get a job in political science. And the answer was lying. I can't believe a professor was saying the answer, what is political science? It is the ability to lie well in front of others. How do you get a job there? Lie. Say you're better than other people. I am not promoting that aspect. I'm just saying that there's a lot of different views, a lot of different ways to go about this. You should be aware of this. So when you have a company, that company is observing a worker for many months or many years, they know the facts. Other people that are applying for a job, I've seen other companies say that the average resume or the average CV has at least 20% lies. And some people have said that they did research, and for job applicants in China, one of the main questions they ask an interviewee or an applicant is, do you have this training? Or do you know how to do this? Or do you have this skill? And every single applicant said yes, even though they had no idea what it was. So the truth was they didn't have that skill, they didn't have that ability, they didn't have that degree, but they say they do sometimes in interviews just to get the job. And then they think it's okay to learn the details later. And again, I'm not saying that's ethical, maybe you should not do that, but there are a lot of people doing it. So checking the value and the accuracy of information is very important. Next, recruitment advantages from within your company have significant positive effect on other people. If people see that they're getting a promotion inside the company, Everybody wants to work harder. Everybody wants to keep getting more promotions or keep getting pay raises. So it makes everybody happy and increases the morale. And another advantage is most organizations have invested a lot in your staff. I used to work for one of the highest tech companies in the world, Applied Materials. They teach Samsung and they teach Intel, for example, how to develop technology by teaching them what type of computer chip is possible. And that company spends, on average, $1 million a year in training some of their new hires. So the students that they come in get $1 million of training. And they still, in 1 year alone, I hired 547 new students from some of the best universities to work. But very quickly afterwards, if there's a downturn, they also can fire people. So companies do invest a lot in people. Show that you can help with that. Show you can provide your research paper. Show that you can help train other people, for example, with your class paper. Disadvantages of hiring people inside the company. Of course, it will make politics. And I'm not talking about political science in that class I just talked about. I'm talking about the most competitive companies in the world have the most competitive applicants trying to get in. Some of them are good people that, like me, I love to be surrounded by many other good, proactive people and proactive students. But other people, sometimes they don't like good quality people around because they are afraid they're going to take their job or take their opportunities away. So they will do things to make them look bad. That's what we're talking about. Intense infighting for promotion or keeping your job can have a negative effect on your staff. Sometimes if you think that the company may lay off people because of coronavirus and they have limited budget. Many years ago, during the 1997-1998 IMF crisis or the Asian financial crisis, Samsung automatically, without researching details at all, they just started firing women. And they started with any woman employee that was married, automatically they were fired. And then it was just any woman, period, if they still needed to reduce their expenses, was fired, regardless of how good they were. And a lot of people can prove now that women workers might be much better than the men workers. So I'm not saying it's good or bad, but there is infighting and the environment you need to be aware of. Next, inbreeding of ideas. What does that mean? That means that if you have a company and traditional brick walls around you and everybody is living, for example, this university here, Keimyang University, they have a traditional contract. Fortunately, I was able to negotiate out of that contract, but their traditional contract requires that every worker, every professor, for example, has to live around the university in a they must be able to commute back and forth to work daily. So that type of thing, if you are only taking people from one geographical area, if you're only talking to people in one area, if you're only working with the one set of values and ideas and culture, then obviously you don't have other possible ideas. You don't have people from the other side of the world making suggestions to you. And so that is a negative. You will not be able to grow as fast or as innovatively if you are just hiring inside. So issues with promoting from within. Obviously, there's organizations need strong employee and management development programs to make sure that people can handle larger responsibilities. Desirability of using seniority as a basis for promotions. These are two completely different issues. And so that first issue, the idea of organizations need strong employees, there's many aspects to that. And I want you guys to get into groups, start talking about this later today, how you will appear to be good, how companies want the best, and what you can do about it. A lot of companies, the best companies, I've been very fortunate to work with some of the best companies in the world, and the bigger the company, the more successful the company, always, in my experience, the far more serious they are about training and developing all of their staff. The best companies I've worked with have universities inside the company. It's not, sometimes it's not a traditional university. Sometimes it's just a training program of a lot of training materials, or they can introduce you to mentors, coaches, counselors, professors. They will pay for you to attend courses to learn. But the best companies have many, many, many files and resources to help you get better, because all companies are successful mostly because of their people. So get the best people and develop them. Completely a different idea is the desirability of using seniority as a basis for promotions. What is that talking about? It's completely different. That's saying it doesn't really matter how well you did on the job. In some place, it just matters what is your job title. And your job title, or how long you've worked the job, is the requirement to get a promotion. So even if you're Einstein, you have to work at places like Hyundai or Samsung for a certain number of years, usually, before you can get a promotion. And that means that if an Einstein applies, maybe they start as student pay, but very quickly they're going to show their Elon Musk, their genius thinking. They might come up with great innovative ideas to help the company phenomenally, very, very well, but they still are not going to get pay changes. They're not going to get promotions. And so that person is possibly going to quit. So many companies around, whether you're searching about Hyundai or Kakao, check how do people get hired, or how are people promoted. If they're just focused on seniority, that type of thing should impact how you think of the company. So I'm going to jump through some of this stuff quite quickly. The idea of job posting and bidding, it informs employees of job vacancies by posting a notice in central locations. It gives a period to apply for the job. Job applicants need to list their qualifications and reason for requesting a transfer or promotion. Unsuccessful bidders are usually notified by HR, and they're advised usually why they were not accepted. But the truth is, most HR rejection letters are just simply saying that, thank you, you're a great person, you're very well qualified, but we found that other people had different terms that were more appropriate, and they might not explain those details. So I highly suggest, when you are in love with a company, if you really want to work for a company, find out what they're looking for, and no, they may not tell you. So by going up and researching something to help them, maybe they'll share more details with you, and you can use that for your own personal benefit at the same time as finding ways to help them. So advertisements, again, job ads, placement of help wanted ads in newspapers, in trade, in professional publications, or on the radio and television. Those are interesting. If you check through the notes, the teaching notes in our weekly file, you will see that job ads generally get internet ads get 9 times more applicants than a regular job post, for example, a poster on the wall outside of the department. So if you want the top quality people, you should be looking for a very wide resource of many different people, like check everybody in the world and find out who's the best. But if you're going to be doing that, do you have the budget? Do you have the money? Do you have the compensation package that can afford the best? Many times it's not just cash. Compensation can be allowing people to work from home, or allowing people to have flexible details. Other aspects, for example, sources of qualified personnel outside companies, is the idea of employment agencies. Every one of you will benefit, I guarantee, in your life if you understand what is a headhunter, or a job agent, or executive recruiter, or search firm. Those are workers, they're companies that will take your resume and learn about your skills and abilities and try to place you in a job. So they will try to help give you a job. And it costs zero. It costs you nothing because the company has thousands of people that they're trying to hire, and they respect a professional company that will sift through all of the thousands of resumes and identify who's the best. So if they use a headhunter or job agent, they will pay the agent, and many times they will pay the agent sometimes 30% of your yearly salary. So it costs you nothing, but if you're going to get $100,000 salary, that headhunter gets paid $30,000 or $33,000 just for taking your resume and introducing you to a company. So realize there are hundreds or thousands of headhunters out there. Find out who they are, make an introduction, send your resume to them, tell them, I'm interested in this type of job, I'm interested in this type of area, I hope to have these type of conditions, these are why I am good to be hired, and those people will continue to keep you in mind and try to give you jobs. The second thing I want to say related to headhunters is, even if you're happy in your dream job, reality is there's good days and bad days. Sometimes you're going to argue with your boss or your staff, or your colleagues, or sometimes you're just going to have a very difficult day. And I have been incredibly satisfied having a difficult day, and somebody calls me on the phone saying, excuse me, are you Dr. Watts? Yes. Well, I saw your resume online. You sent it to me many years ago, and we have this opportunity that I think you're ideal for, and the pay is crazy high. So even though I don't quit my job, just having somebody say they're interested in me makes you feel good. So learn about the values of those things and how they work. Next, temporary help agencies. Nowadays with coronavirus, this is growing fast, and employment outsourcing is growing fast. You can't have people going to work off and on. Sometimes you will lay off everybody. Some of you may be aware of, like Oprah Winfrey or Ellen, the TV stars. They fire a lot of their staff, and then they turn around and hire somebody temporary to film them just in their house. Even though they have millions of dollars invested in film crews for their TV shows, they can still hire somebody else. And, you know, it's many times sort of outside the law. You can think creatively when we're talking about this. Or employee leasing companies. Sometimes there's companies like Odesk, or used to be called Elan, many other companies that can provide staff for you temporarily. And the advantages are you don't have to worry about the health insurance. You don't have to worry about the recruiting details. You don't have to worry about whether they're good or not. You can just say that if this person's not doing the job well, you want to change. And that other company that's leasing workers, they will get somebody else. So it may make things a lot more efficient. More sources of qualified personnel outside the company. Employee referrals, walk-in. In our textbook, the textbook and some of our notes talks about how employee referrals are different than just walk-in. When you have an employee recommending somebody, that person is usually 3 times more likely to be hired than just a regular person applying and walking in off the street. So what does that mean? I hope everybody in class realizes use your class paper as an excuse to contact the company and start finding out anything you can. Review details, interview these workers, develop a relationship so that you know people there. And if you know somebody there and they tell you, oh, we might be, you know, my friend in the other department might be hiring soon, and you list that I am applying for this job because somebody inside the company recommended it to me, you look much, much better, 3 times more likely to get the job. And again, that might not, maybe nobody saw your class paper. Maybe you just interviewed that person and said, I want to quote you, and can I take a photo of you to make a news story about you? And whether or not you actually made a story, that worker might be proud that they have their paper and they're interviewed to go in a news story and be happy with you. So you should work ethically, of course, but make sure you understand the big picture, how things work. Next, campus recruiting. There are some companies that come to the campus. You should try interacting with those companies, but be more proactive. Don't just wait for a company to come to you. Usually, if you wait for a company to come to you, you've waited too long. You're too late. You are far more competitive and far more valuable if you get away from all of the people waiting and be proactive. Walk up to the company, establish your first contact. Show them that you're better than others. You're more proactive. You're more eager. You are researching now. And don't forget, you have a huge value the company should appreciate. I am working for you. Professor Julian, Professor Ali, professors in Denmark are working for you. We have executives from Samsung that could be considered employees working for you. They're mentoring you. And you could tell this company that you have these executives and all students around you are a research and development team for innovation. So that should be attractive to companies to make you look good. You can help a company solve problems, be innovative. So go to them before they come to you. But of course, if they do come here, make sure you take advantage of that opportunity. Internet recruiting. Again, this is one of the most popular ways if you want to apply or interview for a job, then using the internet is very valuable. They say you get 9 times more applicants if you do it this way. Well, job candidates and managers searching for qualified jobs are increasingly relying on the internet. Almost everybody uses this. But as one student in class was saying, when you're searching for employees or screening or selecting employees, is interview A best or interview B or interview C or interview D? What is the best type of interview? Well, the best type of interview is no interview. You go, you get the job yourself. You show that you have researched the company. You show you know the job. You show you know what they need because you've already researched them a lot and you found good, reliable Scopus journal articles that should benefit them, knowing that each journal could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to read and you get free access through the university. So you can share that value to the company. So we've started to talk about many details here. Another activity is talk about discuss methods to stimulate employee external referrals. So this is important. The idea of the next slide is talking about advantages of internet recruitment. And then we talk about this next activity. I'm going to jump forward and I want you guys to get into groups. And if you can talk about this ways to stimulate employee external referrals, great. But the most important thing I want you guys to focus on is how you can get benefit yourself. So everybody should have read this article that I shared in the past that Julian identified. It's great. I want you to discuss positioning strategies and keywords that can be used by fresh graduates or professors or whatever job you want. Identify what are the keywords you should use in your resume. What are the keywords that should be used in the job advertisement? How can you put that in your resume? How can you understand what ATS is? And that's basically a robot, that's a software program that will look for the best candidates. And how can you manage all details so that you are selected for the job? Any questions about this before we actually get into the group? Going once, going twice. So it's almost 10 o'clock. We have, I believe, till 10:15 to talk about this. I want you guys to go through these ideas, but do it in groups discussing, again, this ATA, where is it here? This one. So this is the article I want you guys to focus on in the group chat. So how can you tune your CV to get a job? How can you tune or manipulate your CV to get around the software that will kick you out? And there's many opportunities for this. Let me just show you a couple of different things. I'm going to show you two different resumes. One resume is created by maybe another very insightful person, and it's showing clear information here. It's very easy to read. Here's the summary. Here's the current details. Here's some of the experience. Some of this might not be current anymore, but it's easy to read. It's easy to go through and see these details. A different example, here is the same thing. So it's an introduction letter. It's news stories and links. And then this is the same thing that we just showed you. So I'll show you two things side by side now. And hopefully you guys can appreciate the idea of how you get a job, how you bypass the software programs. The reality is design counts. So this is one page, and this is almost the exact same information, just a lot more information compacted together. This one is 43 pages, and this one is 17 pages, so some of the details have been cut out. So I'm not saying one is right, one is wrong, but I do appreciate, and I want you guys to understand when you go through and you talk about your CV, you're going to talk about how to make your CV attractive, but that's a different aspect. What I also want you to understand is how can you make it attractive to get around the technology that might filter you out? For example, robot software programs might not see a difference between this or this. One of the things that you might not see easily is inside here, a lot of the jobs that I did, I will take the regular words describing the job and I will write them down. And then I will find 3 or 4 other ways to say the same job and also use those other words to write it down. Why? Because the ATS robot will pick up on one resume above the other that is very short, clear, and easy to understand to a human person reading it. So let's...
Professor Shant, can I make a...
Sure, yes, make a comment.
Yes, I would actually like to share my screen and show something that I found around here. One moment. One moment. So...
while Julian is getting ready, I just want to offer some helpful advice to you. I have a pretty good idea. I know Korean people usually look at the Sky University, Seoul, Korea University, Yonsei University may be the best. But that is an image, but it doesn't always hold true. You guys, what is most important is getting out and showing your value. And a university value is losing importance to personal individual applicant value. So start being a TA. Start thinking of how you can win an award, how you can publish your term papers, how you can do internships, because all of those things will make you much, much, much more attractive than anybody from name brand areas. Go ahead, Julian. You want to share these details?
So those CVs that you presented before, I think they were made for human assessment, but I think I found somewhere something that looks like a CV that was made for robot assessment. And it basically has nothing to do with what would be relevant for a human being that will be checking your CV.
Okay.
So
I hope students understand what you're talking about. I understand what you're talking about. If students want clarification, please ask questions. That's very valuable for you guys. Let's get into Julian. Are you the one that's going to divide people into breakout rooms now?
I can do it now. One moment. I will divide people in okay. I'm creating rooms right now, okay? For how long?
Okay.
How many minutes?
5-7 minutes, whatever you guys think. 5 minutes is good to start, and afterwards I will show you different ways that you can develop your CVs and
Okay.
details. I will bounce back and forth, hopefully between groups. Please let me know if you guys have questions at any time. Gunsu Kim, I see that you have shared details. I think what you shared, however, is your computer file, and I don't know if everybody else will have access to your personal C drive in your computer. But we can check those details.
Okay, so
Thanks for sharing information. Ali, you have a comment?
While you were talking about the CV, can you hear me clearly now?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I just want to talk about a little bit about LinkedIn. So as from my experience, as I can see, when you're trying to upload your information into LinkedIn, and LinkedIn use the algorithms where they can sort the most relevant job for you based on the skills that you already post on LinkedIn. And I think that is the kind of example of the keywords relating to the keyword related.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Many companies
So-
do that. Whenever you're ready, I think all students should be asking Ali a lot of questions about that. How you can use keywords, how keywords are not only important for HR and hiring people with your automatic resume management, but keywords are super important for a company image or your personal image in Google or Facebook. That's generally the secret to success going forward in most areas.
Okay.
Are you
so
ready,
I'm starting
Julian?
the room. Yes, now. Hello, hello. Mr. Almuratov, can you hear me? Hello. Mr. Almuratov, can you hear me?
We're back.
Yeah, actually that I think it's a little bit short.
It is short. It's a good time to actually come back. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear. And if you allow me 1 minute, it was one question that arose in our group, and that says we were not aware that CV selection was made by somebody else, by human. So my colleagues had the feeling that somebody, some person, some human being will actually read CVs. And I said that if you imagine a company, yeah, if you imagine that the company posts a position to hire whatever, some people, and if they receive 500 CVs, and if you assume that that company has 20 positions open, so it is not possible for humans to analyze it. So there will be a software that will just select maybe 5-6% of those CVs to make it to draw attention to some human being. Okay, I'm done.
I was a consultant to executives in Research in Motion, the company that made the BlackBerry, a competitor to the iPhone and the Samsung Galaxy. And I was working with them on a Friday where they wanted to post a basic level job. And so Friday afternoon, they posted the job advertisement on the internet. Monday morning, they had 37,000 resumes. So even if there is a human that's supposed to be going through the resume, no human can easily read 37,000 resumes efficiently. So computer programs are used to identify what is the best one to start checking. So you must understand. So the requirement was for all students, you were supposed to read that article about how you can make your CV stand out, or tuning your CV to bypass the ATS robots, how you can actually get an interview. Some students didn't read this yet, and so they weren't able to prepare. Other students did read this, so you're able to get more value from it. Going forward, we have a little bit more time. In future classes, we will talk more about this, but I want you guys to think about, make sure you stand out. Make sure you're aware of this. Anybody else in the class want to share your findings or comments?
So I have some comment too. So we are in the breakout rooms, we have some comments. Actually, we mentioned about your CV. And as I know that at the moment that people are trying to use the computers and like as IT systems to search, to filter the CV. However, at the end of the day, like the human resource management still read your CV. And for example, from my side, I actually can't read all of your CV. And I just think that when we're trying to, like in the cover or in the first pages, it's better that we can summarize everything about us within one pages. And it should be really helpful for the people who just first take a look at that and see everything that they know. That is my comment. And the other thing is as I am working on the marketing part, so for example, from my side, maybe designing is one of the points that is important. So it really depends on which job you're trying to focus on. You should modify the CV to make the people, the human resource management impressed, and maybe you can already source your skills within the CV. For example, your CV is talking more about the research and the extractor. So you should add more information, but like for a design company, for example, so sometimes you should make the CV, it looks more interested. Yeah.
Okay, Marissa, you have a big smile. Can you share what are your comments that you found in your group or reviewing some of these details?
Sorry.
Marissa, can you quickly provide some insights or comments? I'm going to go randomly through the group and start asking some questions.
I also had Ellie in my group, so we also talked about LinkedIn, like that I, for example, was searched for a student job and I was a bit overwhelmed about all the information that was like provided on like different jobs. And we talked about that it's like super important to like work on your LinkedIn profile, like that is optimized for yourself, so you only get the advertisements that you need and want. So your profile is not shown like to like all different cities where you don't even want to work, or to all different jobs that you're not interested at all. So we just talked about that as well.
Okay, next. What about Joe Songa? Any comments from you? Javokir Abdullah, can you make some comments?
Yes, Professor. Actually, we didn't talk about anything. I guess I was muted by host. I
Okay.
guess there was a problem. You were also in our group, part of our group.
Im Unso, do you have some comments that you can share?
I was actually in the same group with him.
My question is, do you have comments to share on this topic?
I think about ATS, it was designed to help ease the time burden that hiring requires, and it helps select candidates and help companies receive inward insight regarding their interview process.
Yes. So how can you get a job? How can you get around that software, those robots? Hey, Jin Jun, do you have an idea?
Well, Professor, Hajin's microphone doesn't work. So can I just say, can I just talk for her?
How about you talk for yourself? If they don't have a microphone, they can't really participate. So I want to hear from anybody. So you can talk first.
Hajin just Kakao talk me for the discussion, so I can just give you her thoughts for
Okay.
the. So like Hajin was like thinking of how to avoid filtering by the computer. Like she said, like she needs to figure out the needs and wants of the like company, and like she was thinking how to like fill in the, what was that, like CV in order to like satisfy the company owners, I mean the interviewers. Like she was talking like that.
Okay, how?
Pardon,
So
sir?
you're not really saying something. If somebody has a job, they have a job application for an interview, you said she's thinking about how to fill it in. So great, how? Do you have something to add? Do you have a secret that you can use to get a job? Do you have one way to make sure you are seen by the interviewer?
Actually, I think like we need to find out the core value of the company in order to interest him, and we need to analyze how can we like serve for the company. You should say like that. I mean, like, I'm not pretty sure about.
Yes, so thank you. That's very, very valuable. Maybe the most valuable thing I've heard so far. If you want to be successful, you must research what the company values, what the company wants, and identify those key things they're looking for, and take those words and put those words in your resume. And then take the same words with synonyms, maybe the same idea, and describe those in other ways. So there's a few people, I think, was it Minsu Kim just had her hand up, and then Minsu Kim, did you have your hand up first?
Yeah, I was waiting. It's because I wanted to mention the same thing that he was saying, that I was in a group with Julian where I was the one who mentioned I didn't know that companies use a specific kind of system in order to filter all the resumes. I thought in the company, even if it's not all manually, I think each company will have their own kind of system. But when I read the article that for the class, I was thinking that in order to be successfully have a resume that would pass the system and would be checked by the people on the company, the resume would need to contain keywords that I think me and my group, we were talking about the important keywords. And I was thinking that the main important keywords would be mentioned in the job advertisement ad. Like in the ad, they will specifically talk about what kind of person they are looking for. And also we thought that each position they need some specific kind of characteristics for the job. Each position, for example, marketing or being a director or for human resources. So it's really important. We were discussing that it's really important to look for the specific keywords related to the position of the company.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
That's perfect answer. Thank you very much. I hope all students understood what you just said. If I repeat part of what you just said, you must research the company that's best. But even if you don't do that, at least read the job ad carefully, copy the keywords from the job ad, paste those words in your resume. Absolutely. Everybody must do that. That's the minimum. And as I was saying, then repeat those words using different words saying the same thing. And then you need to guess, what do you think are requirements of the job, or what are keywords relating to the job, and list any possible relating word that you think is key, and make sure those words are in your resume. So yes, absolutely, every one of you should be aware of that. But of course, that is just to get through the software. After you do get an interview, then you need to prepare for the human interview and show how you can add value. Let's go through. Melissa, class is finished, by the way. Everybody, you can leave if you have another class coming up.
I see before. Sorry, I see before. Ozobed and Felix raise hand before.
Yes, Felix, I think you were next. You had something to say?
Yes, what I did every time when I really wanted a job, I just bring my CV there personally. I didn't send it via email or post. I just bring it there.
Yes, but
I think that's it. Yeah.
You are doing this in Asia, or you are doing this in Europe?
In Europe.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, so
when I first came to, that's good. Always be prepared, be proactive, absolutely. Many people in Korea and throughout Asia may be traditional, they may be conservative, they may want to show, they want you to show that you're connected somehow to the company and you're not just a stranger walking in. However, when I came to Korea 25 years ago, I was working for Daewoo, and it was a strange department, and I was new in Korea. I was just walking down the street, and the most beautiful building close to me just happened to have the doors open. I just happened to walk in, and I just walked towards the CEO's office. And the doorman, I think they'd never seen a non-Korean before. They were kind of shocked. They said, "Can they help me?" And I just said, "No, I was going to meet the CEO." And so they were, So I walked in and I told the CE, hi, my name is Sean. You know, I'm here to help you with your blah, blah, blah. And the CEO was like, excuse me, who are you? Who sent you? And I just told him, I'm me. I sent myself. And that aspect got me the job. They had never seen somebody do a cold call before. It's not normal in Korea, but I'm proof it works. And the alternative is you will apply to a job and hope that you might get the time of the hiring manager. They might introduce you to a senior person. They might introduce you eventually to the president. But if you make a class project, something that might help, you can walk up to them, interview them, take a photo of them for your term paper, for example, and use that opportunity to try to get a job. Don't wait. Yes. Ali, Julian, you have a comment?
So I did the exact the same in Mongolia. So I've been, I was looking which are the biggest investment funds, and I picked the biggest one, and I just get through and went to the CAO. But the point is, when you are in Asia, you are different as an European, so you make a difference. So it is a strategy to apply. So just knock the door in person to the big
So in
wolf.
Korea, you have to run faster so the security guys then get you.
Or have the attitude that you are above the CEO. One of the most impressive persons that I've seen in Korea, even though I've met presidents and very high level people, one guy that was really, really impressive was an English teacher. He was Canadian from Sri Lanka. And usually Indian or Sri Lankan people have difficulty getting accepted in Korea. But he learned the language. And when he could walk in anywhere. He could walk into museums, he could walk into big buildings and walk straight through the security because of his attitude. He basically would take out a McDonald's coupon and basically yell at the security guard, do you not know who I am? I'm going to see them, get out of my way. And it was a McDonald's coupon. And he would get in almost anywhere just because of the attitude. So I'm not saying it's right, but I have seen it work. And being proactive is better than waiting with people. Anyway, so far, most of our group here, we're all non-Koreans except for Kim Gun-soo. I can't see Kim Gun-soo, so I can't comment too much about you guys, but I highly recommend you guys take advantage of how you're different. The system in Korea is made to filter out most people. The system is made so that it's not based on equality. Usually younger people are supposed to be treated like garbage or not respected. They think you don't have value or you don't have experience. But they also think you're quiet and you're nice and you're humble. And so if you just walk in like you own the place and yell at the guy, they probably have never experienced that, and you can just walk through and get it. It worked for me. It worked for several other people I've seen. Kim Gun-soo, have you applied for many jobs? Have you seen confidence helping in job interviews?
Me? Myself?
Yes, have you seen job interview processes in Korea?
Yeah, several times. But it was more like a part-time job. Like since I'm the university student, so. But yeah, most of the time I tell that one of my strengths is confidence. So yeah, and they liked my morality and they chose me. So I'm working as I'll say I'm working in the cafe right now.
Okay, make sure you understand, just applying for a job is one part. If you don't think about applying for a job and you think immediately about how you can just give them value, show them value, you don't need to apply. So part of your group's research project is focused on how to interview, what are the different interviews, but it would be better if you think about how can you actually research a company and show them something of value. Marissa, you had a question, a comment to say?
I just had a funny story to add, actually, because a good friend of mine, he was an exchange student in Beijing last year, and he wanted to study in Beijing afterwards, like his master's studies. And he happened to walk into a person, like he thought, just a random person from that university at the airport. And he just went up to him and asked him like for information, and it happened to be the dean of the whole university. And he got into a super nice conversation with him, and he actually had super bad grades in university. He was like never there, but he showed initiative, and like he was so outgoing that the dean just got him the place at the university. He's studying in Beijing right now. Like, super random story, but everybody was so impressed after hearing that. Like, nobody ever thought that he would get that, but that's just the attitude.
Proactivity, yes, absolutely. I think maybe I told you guys before, in my executive MBA program, everybody was forced to get into a group and do a group project. And the first person to talk, then we were all new together. One person started talking, saying, "Hi, my name's Jacob. I just want to say that I am probably not going to do any work for us. I'm probably the worst person to work on this project. But every time we meet, I will bring beer and food. And I know a lot of people." And that guy, everybody loved him. And when he graduated, he was almost failing everything, but he got the best jobs. And he became very, very successful just by his networking skills. So yes, be proactive. Thanks, guys. I think it's time to go. For your reference, I don't know if you guys have time or interest to join. We have a class coming up soon